We are back in full effect, ready to go live on IG. And we'll get some time for our people to get in here.
Cool.
Welcome, y'all. This is another night of the Heal Me campaign, Brotherly Conversations. We're going to give just a few seconds, a few moments for people to jump in from IG live, for our people from YouTube and Facebook to gather. And then we're going to get started. Brother Stevens, how you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. How you feeling?
I'm blessed. I'm super blessed. I see you got your water. I'm inspired. I got to take my labeling off my water. Things they ain't we ain't getting no sponsors, so
Hey, I hear you. I hear you.
they can't get no airtime.
No free marketing.
Right. We got Miss Jones in our IG and our IG live. We got a few partners. Elevated Approach is one of our partners helping with the Heal Me campaign. It's an organization out of DC. So I want to shout them out. They are in our comments, navigating comments on our IG live. Um, and also K Love Notes is one of our sponsors, one of our partners for the Heal Me campaign for 2023. And she's responsible for bringing you here tonight with us, K Love. So gratitude to her.
K Love, shout out. Always. Good sister.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna get started. For those who are here, listen, once again, we are back for another night of the Heal Me campaign, Brotherly Conversations, where for the month of May, I will be conversing with other African American men nightly at 9 p.m. between the nights of Sunday and Thursday evening. Essentially, in 2019, I wrote a song entitled Heal Me featuring Grammy nominated artist Raheem Devon, which talks about how my father raised me and essentially the inadvertent, unhealthy lessons that he taught me about how to cope with pain and adversity. Shout out to my father. Today is actually his birthday. And so he passed in 2008. So rest in peace to him. But we honor his legacy and what he created. Through him, we created the Heal Me campaign. And so my goal is to talk to brothers throughout the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, about moments of pain and difficulty that they may have went through, but essentially how they came out of that moment to get to a place of healing, peace, power, and purpose. Our goal is that if there's any brothers who may be in the midst of that moment right now in their lives, that through these conversations they can, one, know that they're not alone, two, see that they can get through it, and then three, hear some strategies that they could potentially use to get to a more well-rounded place. Our guest tonight is actually Brother Stevens. Brother Stevens, can you tell us who you are, what you do, how we can support you, follow you, stay tapped in with you, etc.?
Absolutely. My name is Nathan Stevens. I'm an assistant professor in social work at Illinois State University. Go Redbirds. Got to shout them out for giving me an opportunity to pursue my dream of educating and influencing young minds. So shout out to them. Illinois State University is located in Normal, Illinois, which I know a lot of folks on the East Coast just kind of fly over. And so, yeah, we're about an hour and a half, 2 hours south of Chicago, and about 2.5 hours east of St. Louis. And so that's what I do in my day job. Member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Proud member of that great first organization and Greekdom. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a community member, a community organizer. I'm a mentor. I'm a student, lifelong learning. Uh, I'm a child of the divine. And I like to say I'm a people's brother. I love connecting with my community. So it's a little bit about me.
Thank you, brother. Look, you gave us the full scale, the full detail of who you are. Y'all tap in with Brother Stevens, connect with him, follow him, show him love. I want to let you guys know what the layout for the night is going to be so that you can follow along with us. And then we're going to get our show started. So typically what happens every night is that we start with an icebreaker. And the icebreaker is always the Heal Me song that I have with Raheem Devon. We'll listen to the record, a portion of the record, and then our guest, Brother Stevens, tonight will not give us a reflection of the song, but he'll give us his connection to maybe a lyric or two, and how he relates to the story. After that, we'll get right into his story. I'll ask him what broke him, and he'll get into whatever difficult or dark period of life that he experienced. We'll talk about maybe some of the vices that he took on to cope with that moment, negative or positive. And then we'll talk about his transition point, what information, experience, or encounter that he had that allowed him to start to shift his mind towards a more well rounded posture. We'll talk about his journey towards wellness, and then ultimately how he lives on a daily basis to maintain his posture of peace, power, and purpose. And so, Brother Stevens, if you're ready, we're gonna go ahead and turn the song on and get the night started.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Got it.
See, my father never talked too much, just that look in his eyes. Deep stares out the window told me that life was simple, but I would never know what he would never reveal. That sharp look in his face was pain he would conceal. He inadvertently taught me that real men don't feel, so don't follow your heart. Use it to advance your cause, but always follow your thoughts and make a smart decision. You should barely apologize, never ask permission. And when the world does a thing to try to break you down, don't tell a soul. They waiting just to take your crown. Your woman gon' think you weak if you express your pain. Your men gon' say you sweet, though they be feeling the same. So get a vice, cup of Hennessy, cigarette, live your life. Whatever you gotta do to get sleep at night, cause for the longest you probably ain't sleeping right, or even slept at all. When God calls, don't fight it, take a sigh of relief that you ain't gotta live no more in this grief. Yeah, the cruel world that we living in is hard and cold. You ain't a man till it scars your soul. Straight up, so don't ever express your feelings. Sit in silence, cause the only feelings you get are anger, hate, and violence. But see, the system got a process and a plan for that. Time is the only thing you got, so never hand them that. So if you ever truly feel like you about to break, get you a pencil and a notebook, let your mind escape. Writing is the only place where we can feel free. After he died, I read his notebook, he wrote, "Heal me. Heal me, yeah. Heal me. Father, don't nobody understand me. I won't make it out unless you come down and heal me. Yeah. Heal me. They don't know the pain I've been going through. I call on your name cause I know that you can heal me. Was he really that strong? Or just putting up a front? Did death come too soon? Or was it something he wanted? After 66 hard years of hiding them tears, did he get a reward? Well, let me make this clear that I think his vice got him. The thing he used to cope with life just took the life out of him. Them cigarettes that he would smoke on all them stressful days. But we still had a few good days, and I knew, cause he would smoke one or two, but otherwise a pack. I used to ask him not to smoke again, but what I should have said was breathe, pop, don't hold it in. We do yoga to get peace these days, but them Carolina preachers didn't teach these ways. It was suffer and survive. If you don't get your blessings in this life, if you tired, you can get them when you die. He used to hit that cigarette and play too much, that he got cancer and ain't say too much. He said, heal me. Oh, heal me. Father, don't nobody understand me. I won't make it out unless you come here and heal me. Heal me. They don't know the pain I've been going through. I call on your name 'cause I know that you can heal me. I'm thankful for my outlet 'cause it.
Brother Stevens, let's tap in, man. How do you relate to that concept, the concept of that song as a black man?
Really, man, what was really interesting for me is the conversations and the message that you picked up from your pops is the first thing that jumped out and grabbed me because, brother, I can't relate to that at all.
Mm.
My pops bounced on me and my mom's when I was 2 years old, and I learned about that. My mom used to have this baby book, you know, uh, where she kind of like a journal or whatever, and she wrote in there like, "Hey, you dipped out on us, and you were too." And so the memories that I have of my pops, man, is growing up, in public housing. Back in the day, they had a spot over on Lion Street, and it was a it was an old school crap house, you know, uh, bootleg liquor, you know, women on their hustle, all that kind of stuff was the the main staples of that environment. And every now and then, man, he would come into town, and some of my older relatives would come, let my mom and me know that, he was in town over there. And I would go, and I remember the one time I just went over there, like I wanted to see my pops. And he was at the crap table and all of that, and turned around and he said, "Hey, cat, what's going on?" Not son, not little guy, just cat. Like
Mm.
random dude. And so that, I mean, ended up giving me a ride home, but that was pretty much it, man. That was my relationship. So, when I heard about, the cigarette and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, can't relate, you know. Um, so even if the lessons were good or bad, I never got them, And so I also think about the many black men in our country, that's true of. I mean, even our former president, Barack Obama, pops was never in his life, so um, ironically, he and I shared a birthday, Barack Obama and I. So I don't know. I guess great guys were born on August 4th or something like that. Anyway, but that was my thing with the song, man. It's I'm listening, and I'm hearing the lessons you picked up from your pops, and you can kind of see where he's working with whatever he had, and it wasn't maybe the proper message or whatnot, right? And then you come back and bounce back from that. I'm like, the mistakes that I made were all mine, and ironically, um, I made a commitment that my kids would never have to find me. They would never have to hear that I was in town and take it upon themselves to go find me. And so that's my thing when I hear that song is the different relationships black men have or lack thereof with their fathers, and the impact that that could potentially have.
Yeah, I hear you on that, and thank you, brother. You gotta, of course, it got to be transparent and authentic to your story, and I appreciate that. Um, who who did you who taught you how to respond emotionally to things?
It's a good question. I would say probably my mom, more than anybody. My mom was one of the people that kept it real. I mean, my mom was, you know, um, she wasn't a dainty, very feminine type woman. My mom was, hardcore. She reminded me a lot of Afeni Shakur.
Mm.
Not necessarily the political in terms of Black Panther, but in terms of and those soft, stuff like that. I remember when I, got a young woman pregnant and went and told my mom, and I start crying, Mom, she's pregnant, and my mom was like, "Ain't you crying? You wasn't crying when you was up in it." you know, I mean, that was her, bro. And so in terms of who taught me emotions, and she's like, "It's gonna be all right, but look here, don't be trying to cry now," and that kind of taught me that look, you got to think about what you do before you do it, and so but so she just kept it real with me all the time. And I had uncles and aunts. My mom had 12 siblings, so
Mm.
my grandmother had 13 kids. So there's a lot of messages that I picked up from different members of my family. But in terms of how to think and feel, my grandfather was real quiet, didn't say a lot. My grandmother pretty much ran the house, so so I saw different iterations of masculinity presented. My uncles were cool and all of that. Some of them were in the streets. Others were, kind of um, popular high school athletes and stuff like that. So I saw a range of masculinity manifestations growing up, and the emotions and stuff that come from a lot of that.
Mm. Did you when- you a Leo, obviously. What's your mother? She sounds like a Virgo the way she said.
I don't remember the signs. January 5th was a birthday, so
Oh shit, Capricorn. That makes perfect sense. Yo, I'm a Capricorn too, so I get it. We tough like that.
yeah, yeah.
Things
So
make sense. You know what I mean? So it makes sense that she would give you a little. Don't cry now.
yeah,
You
you
won't
know,
cry when you was.
yeah, yeah. That was those are her words.
It sound like someone would have said, "Cool, man. We appreciate that reflection. I'm sure that's going to be added to the story in some spectrum. Now that you've given it to me, I can, with your respect. We said this earlier too, and I want to say it while everybody's on here. I always tell brothers, I would love to say this is a safe space, and what I will say that this between you and I is definitely safe, but this is the internet, right? So it's not necessarily a safe space. You have to say what you feel safe to say, and I'll honor whatever part of your story that you want to reveal, and whatever part of your story you want to keep concealed. I'll honor that. So let's jump right in, man. In terms of your life, your struggles, your difficulties, your challenges, what would you say the thing was in your life that challenged you the most? What broke you?
The thing that challenged me the most, I would probably say, is being incarcerated.
Mm,
I was incarcerated for almost 6 years, basically. 5 years, 9 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days.
mm,
And then having gone from a student in college to that, it was like, man, that was almost like the ultimate failure, in my book. And so it broke me, as you said, um, because I felt like, man, can it get any worse than this? But there were some things that led up to that. Um, went through a tumultuous breakup in a former relationship as a young man. Um, start partying and self-medicating, drinking and kicking it and all this kind of other stuff. And, next thing you know, you look up, you short on money, and you had someone who um, was supposed to have been a friend say, hey, we can go pull this lick right quick, and it ended up, me in the county jail. So facing 25 to life.
mm,
So clearly when you find yourself in a situation like that, you've deviated from your path, from your purpose. And that purpose could be, in terms of, I think about Jonah in the whale from the Bible story, and that's what I liken myself to is, you're supposed to went this way, I didn't want to go this way, so you find yourself in the belly of the beast, you know and asking yourself, wait a minute, man, I'm supposed to be in a classroom somewhere. How did I end up here? But a lot of it is, like you say, not really taking care of yourself mentally and emotionally, and just kind of falling in with folks, that you had no business falling in with.
mm. And this was after you finished college or during or
No, this was technically, I had kind of I started off, then I, had kids, so I quit going to school and all of that. And then that's when this happened. Then when came home, for me, I'm thinking, I'm not trying to go do that no more. That's for sure. And so then went back to school. Is what happened with me.
do you do you talk about you feel open to talk about what it was that sent you in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was possession. Out hustling, grinding. I got probation for that. And then after this situation happened, where I'm in with it, guy was like, hey man, let's go in here, we're gonna rob this restaurant. I'm like, man, I ain't no restaurant robber, you crazy? I ain't, it's like, no, no, not like that, we're just gonna run in, grab a bag and run out. And I was like, oh, okay, so no weapons, ain't nobody gonna get hurt, nothing like that. No, no, no. Like, oh, okay, cool. And I tell the story that, you know while we get sitting outside, getting ready to run in because his ex-wife worked at the place. It was really an inside job. And so we sitting out there. I'm praying like, man, God forgive me for I'm about to do. And and when I talk to young people and I tell that story, I say, listen to that. You say, I know what I'm about to do. I shouldn't do, but I'm getting ready to do it anyway. Right? I mean, I'm getting ready to do it anyway. I know this is not who I am. I know this is not how I roll, but I'm getting ready to do this anyway. And so that ended up, you know, um, getting me in, and, like I said, in a bind to where I was end up being incarcerated.
No judgment. And I want to access in a way in which it comes off as, and you understand that there's no judgment, but I want to challenge the thought. What was the disconnection? Because obviously you prayed, which means that you understood God, you had a relationship, at least some sort of a relationship with God or some sense of relationship with spirituality, because you prayed. But what was the disconnect that you were willing to pray to God but not trust God?
Hey, great question. Really, man, truth be told, one of the things I learned about myself, and others may have this revelation about themselves. I don't know, but there's a difference between having a relationship with God and I didn't know who you know God was. It just other than kind of this abstract sky daddy kind of thing, you know.
Sky that
Uh,
that's
yeah,
new.
yeah, and so so I'm like, hey, anybody out there, if you're listening, that was more of the prayer. Like, please keep me from doing this because I don't really want to, but I don't have any other options. And so when you say trust, I can't trust whom I don't know, right? I mean, that's all. It's almost like trusting the old man who walked out on me when I was 2 years old. I don't know, dude. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's also relevant. Is like our Father who art in heaven. Well, the only reference I have to a father wasn't there. So can I really trust what I understand the Father to be?
Mm.
And so I think that was more of the disconnect was not having that relationship, with God and even really the understanding. It was just, going to church, that's something you were supposed to do. Try to be a good person without really understanding the scriptures and that kind of stuff. I knew nothing, nothing at all. First time I ever read a Bible was in the county jail.
Yeah, I think you said something super dope there. This idea of like, how was I supposed to trust my father when my version? How was I supposed to trust the father when the version of the father that I knew wasn't there? And I told my nephew this one time. I said, "Do you teach God? Do you teach your daughter about God?" And he was like, "I take her to church." I said, "No, I ain't ask you that." I said, "Did you teach her about God?" Because my explanation to him was like, church familiarizes your children, especially at a young age, it familiarizes your children with community.
Mm,
The children learn about God first from you,
mm.
man. They learn about mercy. They learn about discipline. They learn about all of that grace,
Love.
all of that, from a father. So it's key that you put it on there because, one of the things you said earlier was that you were determined to make sure your children didn't come looking for you. And I'm sure that, right, with your conversation, your understanding of God now, there has to be some aspect of you that says, not only will they not have to come looking for me, but I will be, the father that gives them that example. I want to know, like, take me back to the car real quick though.
Okay.
You make this prayer like, God, I don't really want to do this. So help me not do it. But if I do it, let me be safe. Like, don't let me take no L. But you don't really want to do it.
Really for me, man, it was more of, you know, I know what I'm doing is wrong, but I don't want to be judged just for this moment. It's kind of cover your eyes briefly while I pull this lick that I know I'm not supposed to do because I know it's wrong. right? So really, I wouldn't even say deliver me from this moment. It's more like forgive me in advance,
Mm.
right? Because I know that this is not the path. This is not the way, right? This is not how we're supposed to get down. Um,
So
but
what's driving you in the moment then?
a lack of understanding, and that's the thing that I try to, it's funny because my son had made a joke last year. He said the man with the plan, and I'm thinking, yeah, I always try to plan it out. Plan A, plan B plus plan C, because like the old adage goes, we don't plan to fail, we fail to plan. And so just kind of at least have some thought into what it is, where you're trying to go, what it is you're trying to do, what it is you're trying to accomplish. And if that doesn't work, okay, that's cool, that's life, right? What other options might you pursue? And I believe not having that type of thinking is what really got me where I was at.
Not having a solid plan about what you were gonna do.
Not having a solid plan, not thinking it through, not having a backup, not instead of just having tunnel vision. This is all I can see right now, and miss all of these other opportunities that might be available.
I love that. But I love it, but it's ambiguous. It's big. I want to push.
Please do.
Take me back to the moment in the car. Think about it.
Okay.
What was your driving motivation at that moment for running in that restaurant?
Oh, the money, pure and simple, money. I felt like I needed it, and I didn't know, how I used to get it. I didn't want to get it that way because I was selling poison to my community. You see what I'm saying? And so,
So
you
the
know,
restaurant y'all was robbing was white owned.
yeah,
It had it. Okay, connecting it to the idea of poison in the community and the money. And was it for y'all at that time? Was it enough money to feel like, if we go in here and get this, we gonna be set for a while, or was it just
no, man, that goes to show how naive we were, man. No, this was more like, I could pay rent and maybe get some new kicks and something like that, pay some bills type monies, or all it really was going to be about. But it goes to show the lack of understanding that you taking penitentiary chances for rent money.
yeah, yeah? Take me back. I'm pushing that again
Okay.
because I don't think that was about money.
I had no other option. Basically, so here's the deal.
Because one
It,
enough in there.
well, see, and this is the thing that, one of my best friends, he always say, young minds make young decisions. And so in the forefront of my mind at that time was, again, I'm kicking it and my paychecks are short to where I'm not going to have enough money to pay this rent to my place to stay. I had, didn't have anywhere else because with the breakup, I didn't have a place to stay. When I got a place, I'm like, okay, cool. So now I'm like, I can't lose that because I'm in Oklahoma. I'm from Missouri. I don't have anywhere else to go, right? So I can't lose this, right? So I'm like, in order to do this, I gotta have this money to pay these people they rent first of the month, right? But here's the thing. I also wasn't aware of, you can go and talk to them and tell them you can be a little late this month, right, on the rent. And they'll charge you at most places, what, $5 a day, $10 a day, or whatever, until you get it paid up, right? So this was like the first time I'd ever had this situation, but not having the understanding that you can go and talk to people. Again, what are your options? Again, going back to this tunnel vision, all I knew was I needed to get some money to get this place, keep this place. That's all I knew, right? Immature, not fully understanding. That was it.
So how did you feel when you got caught?
Man, look. You talk about feeling like, I'm gonna keep it PG, feeling like just an idiot. Like, so now not only do you not have that, you have a host of other problems that you're gonna have to deal with. A slew of other problems, right? And so that was it.
What was the time period between the robbery and when y'all got caught?
Oh man, we're talking probably a matter of hours.
Dang, you didn't even get a chance to pay your rent.
Boom. That's why I was saying you got a slew of other problems now.
And so you do 6 years based off that.
Yep.
How long did it take you to forgive yourself?
Um, Man, it took a little while. It took a little while because the biggest thing I would say a number of years, um, because I began to understand that this idiotic, ill-informed move pushed me in a position that I never wanted to be in. Now, guess what I've become? I'm the dad that isn't around.
Mm.
Guess guess
Because
how old?
you already
Guess
had a child.
Yeah. Now guess how old my well, I had an older daughter that was in Missouri. I moved to Oklahoma, right? So now my daughter in Oklahoma is 2 years old when I go away.
Oh, brother, that just broke my heart.
Yeah, 2 years old, same age as me when my pop stepped out on me, right? To make matters worse, the young lady that I was dating at the time told me she's pregnant. And I'm like, so now you just became that dad who wasn't there because of an idiotic choice that you made.
You're the young boy whose father left him at 2, who heard his father was in town one time and went and found him. And his father responds to him, "What's up, cat?" No relationship, no connection. Took you home, but no true connection. You get a girl pregnant, a sister pregnant. You move from Missouri to Oklahoma, right? Or from Oklahoma to Missouri.
Missouri to Oklahoma.
Missouri to Oklahoma. So you leave your daughter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You get with a new girl, you're dealing with her, you get her pregnant. And out of what I would call fear or desperation, right, which is the ruling emotion here, you commit a crime to solve a problem, but create a bigger problem. And then you disappear from your child's life when she was 2 years old.
And you created your third daughter who never knew you outside of the visiting yard for almost for 6 years.
There's a lot there, right?
Hmm.
I'm gonna skip some steps, but then we can come back. But I want to skip all the way to this. Have you forgiven your father yet?
I have, and for a number of years, man, the thing that really hurt me, that I had to get past with him was when I visited my grandmother. I went to my grandmother's funeral in my dad's hometown. And I get down there, my dad introduces me to one of his friends. Man, I'm introduce you to my good friends. So he said, man, hey, this is my son. And the guy looks at my dad and he says, damn, Joe, I didn't know you had a son. Now, to add alcohol on that wound, my sisters, whom my dad tells me about, their photos are on my grandma's wall. None of me, And then my dad's good friend says, "I didn't even know you had a son." So that was the hurt that I really had to forgive. Is not only were you not around, you didn't even talk about me. You didn't even acknowledge me, right? That I had to forgive because whatever it was that made him make the decisions that he made, especially having made some bad decisions myself, I understood how you can make a bad decision and move yourself out of the life of your child. But you know, because I didn't have that information, and quite frankly, I felt like it's not my business. You know, this is who he is. If you're gonna have a relationship with him, you got to go from here on. Yesterday's gone. You have today. Tomorrow's not promised. So that's the approach I took. It's my pops. It is what it is. We move forward. So yeah, I forgave him.
Thank you for taking that on because that's exactly why I asked you. Because in order for you to forgive yourself for making the decisions that took you away from your daughter's life, I knew you would have had to forgive him.
Mm, absolutely.
Also, that moment in the car, that moment in the car before you go in, you're like, man, I got to do such and such and such and such. Did your children cross your mind?
Mm, not really. Not really. And one of the mistakes that I think young brothers make, man, and I shouldn't say young brothers, young people, period, right, is because, and I'll say me, mistakenly thinking you're so hip, slick, and cool, tall, tan, and talented, you know, uh, you don't think about what happens if this goes the wrong way, right? You just erroneously assume, I got this or whatever, you know. So no, they didn't cross my mind because again, I didn't anticipate getting caught, you know. And again, young mind making a young decision because a mature mind would have did more of a cost benefit analysis. Mature mind would have said, okay, so look, if you go talk to the leasing agent or whomever, apartment manager, and they won't work with you. Worst case scenario, you lose your place. You got to go back to Missouri and deal with whatever it is you might not want to see there, right? Worst case scenario. Wasn't thinking like that.
Why were you not? What do you believe allowed you to not consider getting caught?
I would say probably arrogance, probably pompous, you know, the ignorance, ignorance and arrogance, you know, um, and having done some dirt. I mean, this was not my first time up the bat. I'd done some things, I'm hustling, and so when you have this extended period of time when you do, you know, dirt and you're not caught, you tend to get a little cocky, you know. Um, and when you get cocky, you get sloppy.
You know who a child's first disciplinarian is?
Usually the mother.
In your household. Do you know who a child's typically the most their disciplinarian is?
Now who is?
Father.
Mm,
The father is the one who catches you.
mm,
I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not in your life. I'm making assumptions. But something in my spirit is also telling me that because your father wasn't there to catch you,
mm, mm,
you know how many times I didn't caught my daughter up and stuff? And
mm.
she's relatively well mannered, loving. Everybody loves her, but she's sneaky.
Yep.
She 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 she's the typical. You give them an inch, they're gonna take a mile. Human
Mm.
being. And I've been there and I've been strong enough to catch her on her inches and be like, I'm gonna give you a foot. And she take the foot and I'd be like, I'm gonna give you 3 feet. And she take the 3 feet and eventually I'd be like, I gave you time to catch yourself and you didn't. Let me stop you before you take the mile.
There you go. There you go.
Right. So she has in her life the immediate consequence of check and balance.
Mm,
You ain't, though you said your mother was tough, right? Your mother's still a woman. And here's this man who, with no experience of that male check and balance, is now at a place where not living from home, having responsibilities, dealing with the fact that he's really on his own and he got to figure it out. It's like, nah, I can get away with this.
mm-hmm.
However, I will say this. It also feels like that you getting caught that day, though you sat down for 6 years, was God's check and balance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've said that. Like I said, first time I ever read a Bible. But first time I ever really had a critical conversation with myself, right? Because I remember this guy that was in the county jail with me, and he looked at me and he one day and he said, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, I did something just like you did something, and unless we all innocent in here. He said, "Nah, nah, nah, nah. You got them smarts." He said, "I hear it when you talk. What are you doing here?" I never had anybody come at me like that. Wasn't disrespectful or nothing. It was just kind of, you are where you're not supposed to be, right? You where you're doing something. You've strayed off of your divine path. And I agree with what you just said. That's part of what helped me to get back on the path, because at that time I did pray. I said, "Look, God, I don't know you, you know, whatever's left of my life, please make something out of it, because I clearly done messed it up. I'm here." And lo and behold, I started having visions and dreams of doing some of the things that I do now.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is that you, at that point, was the primary example of intelligence unchecked.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And though I believe that our fathers are there to, as men, as young boys, to check our intelligence, to check our decisions, to give us something bigger than us, which sets the tone for our discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about the word discipline, right, I don't just think about whoopings or correction. I think about having a discipline. This
Mm,
is the pattern. This is the code. This is how we move. This is how we
right.
respond in difficulty. This is how we show up. This is our character.
Yeah.
Anytime you step outside of this discipline, there may be some correction to reestablish a discipline. This is what fathers do. So to me, you were the example of what happens when the intelligence of a confident black boy
Mm, mm-hmm.
unchecked.
Mm-hmm. With a mouthpiece.
And you a Leo. But the reason why this is hitting me so hard is because you in Illinois. My friend today was talking to me about King Von. I don't know if you're familiar with King Von,
Mm-hmm.
but his father got killed when he was a younger. So essentially, he's a young boy growing up, smart, intelligent, and he's a Leo because King Von ain't no dummy, but it's intelligence unchecked. And I'm thinking about how many of our young boys right now are either sitting in prison or in graveyards because they had unchecked intelligence.
Right. Some of the young brothers I work with, man, in the summer here. I told one of them, "You're gonna be a hell of a lawyer one day." I said, "But let me tell you, going back to your point, I told him, you trying to talk slick to an old can of oil." I said, "Young man, I said, all that hip slick talking you trying to do, been done that." I said, "I guarantee you, you're not going to act slick me." but I hear your intelligence, and I want to push you to let you know you can't smooth everybody. And so that's some of the work that I felt called to do then that I do now.
That's why I pray, brother. As a young man, I did have my father to check my intelligence. But as a grown man, I pray because now I need God to check my intelligence.
Mm,
Right? You get caught within hours of committing a crime. Don't even get to pay the rent. You go away for 6 years. You're absent of your daughters. Um, you're leaving their life similar to the way that your father left yours. How did you transition mentally to become who you are now? There had to be a pivot somewhere where you was like,
oh, absolutely.
yeah, I'm gonna figure this out. What was it?
That prayer, I clearly done messed it up. I'm here, right? Whatever's left, make something out of it.
Mm,
And I started having dreams and visions of working with young black men about being who I needed back then. And so I have a photo that says to be who I needed back then. That OG that was slick. You know, you try to talk slick and cool and tell them, boy, nah, you ain't gonna out slick me. Let me tell you what's really happening. To be that father figure, that mentor, that role model. And that was my pivot. But part of my transition was also accepting me because I didn't have that person in my life to help me understand who I am, who I'm called to be. And that's why I really appreciate the African traditions of the village, helps our young people understand who they're supposed to be. Once I understood who I am, understood this is your weapon, this is your gift, right? Once I understood that, you know, combine this with your heart and caring for others, that's going to get you where you needed to be. I never planned to complete a PhD. I, bro, when I planned to getting out of school, when I said when I get out, I'm going to go back to college, right? That was it. Then I had a mentor say, you got to get your master's degree. Okay. So then I get jobs and I'm working. I'm like, I like what they do up there. I want to be up at that top floor. I get a PhD. Okay, I'll do it. I prayed. This is what I'm supposed to do. Felt led. I said, well, I'll apply for the program. If I get in, that's what I'm supposed to do. Times I wanted to quit because the PhD program is hard. Kept going. Felt like I couldn't stop. And so here I am. And so when people say, how did you go from prison to completing a PhD? I said, I don't know. It's God. I just followed my internal promptings. I felt what the divine and the ancestors were calling me to do. It's what I did.
so earlier I asked you what broke you,
Mm,
and you told me it was, you know, receiving the punishment or the reward of your action that day.
mm, mm-hmm,
Yeah, that ain't what broke you.
mm.
I'm telling you, and you can correct me, but I'm telling you that ain't what broke you.
What really broke me was one day I called my daughter, the 2 year old, and she said, Daddy, I miss you. When are you coming home? That did it. Because the truth is, little mama, I don't know.
Was the prayer before that or after that?
The prayer was after. I mean, I'm in the system now, and
Yeah.
I'm calling from please accept the collect call. And she's, when are you coming home? I miss you. I don't know, Lama. I don't know when they're gonna let me out. I don't know when the creator's gonna open up that door because that's the only way I'm getting out of here. That broke me. You can't outthink it, Nathan. You're not smart enough to outthink this. You can't finesse your way out of this one. It's only when the divine says it's time. That's what broke me. When I had to humble myself to say, there's nothing you can do, nothing you can do. That broke me.
Nah,
It's what I got.
I know. And you're right, but I'm saying nah because I feel like that's what fixed you.
Oh, that, that's what helped me become humble.
That was your
Um,
transition.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
that was the point in your life where you finally listened. Because
Mm,
remember, I asked you, I said, what was the disconnect between you praying to God in that moment, but you not trusting God?
mm-hmm,
It was your ego.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Your ego. You're sitting in the car and you're like, nah, I got this. And then you end up in the system. You're sitting in the system, and then you're dealing with this. You realize that you are your father. Repeat it. You talk to your daughter, daddy, when you coming home, and then finally you like, I Sway ain't got the answers, and I ain't Sway.
mm,
I ain't got the answers.
mm,
And that's when you say, God, you got to do it. Because obviously, you telling me that that's the moment that broke you. Nah, that's the moment that fixed you.
mm.
You were broken already. And I want to say it was your dad. Because we repeat what I do know, what I believe about law is that we repeat the cycles we fear.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say this, and I agree with you in terms of that's what fixed me, what healed me, because there was a lot of abuse growing up. Like, I know one of your questions was, what did you heal from? The childhood abuse, from a crack addicted mother, drug addicted mother, those kind of things. Having gone through all of that, which, all I had at that time was my ability to outthink her, outmaneuver her. And so I spent my life trying to stay ahead of people, right? And then when you realize you can't always outthink people and things, it's some things you can't just, some fights you can't win. It has to be divinely orchestrated. So yeah,
Yeah, it reminds me of a Nipsey line where Nipsey says, I was thinking it was strategy, but it was God's grace.
totally. And it's interesting. A lot of people think that you're being, I don't know, super humble, super religious, or whatever, and I'll be like, I'm really being super real. you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm nobody's fool, but I also know that there's things in my life that I can't explain. Statistically, I don't exist. Black men with a PhD with my background. Keeping in mind, only 2% of Americans have a PhD. Like 0.25% of that 2%, right? And then of that are men. And then of that 0.25% have been incarcerated. Statistically, I don't exist. So how could I take credit for that? I can't if I'm smart.
I mean, you could.
Nah, not if I'm smart and honest.
Now, you could, right? You could be like, I'm self made, but then I would take it back to this. If it had not been for you getting caught, you might be in jail for life or you might be gone.
I agree.
So
I,
even if it was your own consciousness, you said it wasn't, right? But even if it was your own consciousness and own intelligence that allowed you to get to where you are today, I'll still think it was God coming in and saying, you know what, your daddy wasn't there, but I see something in you. There's a
mhm.
verse that I love, and I'm gonna say it because even though we've been talking about uh we're talking about God, so God is in here. But there's a verse in the Quran that I love that says when Allah or when God loves you, he puts you through the fire.
Mm. I like that.
When he loves you, he puts you through the fire. And what I'm hearing from you is there was something he wanted you to do, but
Mm.
he needed you to listen.
Mm.
So he burned your black ass
Mm-hmm.
just enough to get you to be like,
Don't want to do that no more.
all right, that's what's up. I'm listening now.
Mm.
What's the difference between your trust for God now versus your trust for God then?
First of all, having a relationship and an understanding, yeah, and a maturity, you know. So I my I've never read the Quran or any other books. I've only read the Bible. So I'm saying Jesus Christ, but I don't limit myself to Christianity by any means, because I'm nobody's God's counselor, right? And so I believe it was that was the process, beginning to understand and read the books. And I did read and study different religious, groups while I was in there, to just formulate, my understanding of some, a divine, supreme being whom I worship, and try to be, again, real within my heart, and you know leave room for that homage in my life. And standing on that. I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day. I've always been the kind of person that, I had 12-inch woofers and all that. As I'm driving by the church, you turn your music down, right? But but that was more of a superficial level act. That's more of the head. That's not the heart.
Mm.
My pastor used to say some of us have missed heaven by 18 inches. And that's the distance from your head to your heart.
Oh, that's
That's the difference.
that's good. Some of us gonna miss heaven by 18 inches.
Yeah, that's the difference from my head to my heart. And that's why I tell my students, don't make this an intellectual exercise. You can regurgitate something, repeat it, read it, repeat it. That's not what I want. What does it mean? Why is it important, etc.? That's the difference. It's thinking in a more critical manner. The distance from your head to your heart. That's the difference.
I can't remember what verse it is. I think it's Matthew chapter 15, but it may not be. But it talks about in the end when Jesus is going to return. So it says the prophet Issa, Jesus returns, and he's coming through and he's cutting with a sword, right? He's cutting all falsities with a sword. And then it's the question is asked is who will get to heaven? And Jesus responds that in order for you to get to heaven, your heart has to be lighter than a feather.
Mm, hmm
I hear this distance between head and heart. I hear the difference between the reason, the what you're going to do, and the reason why you did it. I hear intention.
mm, hmm
You know what I'm saying? That's what I hear with this difference between head and heart. This 18 inches sounds like 18 inches of intention.
Absolutely.
Where only
Absolutely.
where your true key or your true success in life is based off your intention. And
Mm,
right? Had it
hmm
had your intention been for fatherhood, right? Had
mm,
intention been for righteousness, had your intention been for good conduct, then maybe God would have granted you an opportunity. Maybe you would have seen, because maybe the opportunity was there, you just couldn't see it. But maybe you would have seen an opportunity to pay your rent and be in your child's life.
absolutely.
But it sounds like that wasn't necessarily the intention at that time. But when God sat you down, what it sounds like to me is that when He sat you down, He changed your intention,
Mm, absolutely.
and you came out with the same intelligence, but now a different intention. You said that He gave you visions of helping the community, helping young black boys. He
hmm
He utilized your deficit and changed that into your purpose.
And I also had nightmares. Or at least if that's for lack of a better word, because somebody had asked me, "Have you ever thought about hustling again. I said, mm-mm. I said, they said, really? I said, no. I said, you know why? I had several dreams while I was in. Even since I've been out, I've had a couple, but while I was in, I know at least three, and every time in my dream I got caught. That said to me, if you even think of backsliding or going back to a reprobate mind where you think you can outthink everybody and all this other stuff, here's what's going to happen. And so, not once have I had that. I came home, people, hey man, what's up? Good to see you. A little something to put on your feet, get you on your feet. Man, if you don't get that away from me, I'd rather be around here bummy and broke. Then they said, what you talking about?
You want to know why? Because my pops don't play no games.
Already told me.
He already showed me and told me he don't play no games.
He's they say mess around and find out. you know.
Yo,
So
I think that's super dope, man. I don't get emotional much, but I'm emotional now, and I'm a Capricorn. I know people can't see it. They're probably like, "Is he really emotional?" I am, but the reason why I'm emotional right now, the reason why I feel the way I feel, is because I I know with certainty the level of grace that God offers, bro. He showed up. He showed up and became the father that you didn't have to
mhm,
save you
from myself.
from yourself. I ain't have to do that. You know how many people that don't get it, or maybe he showed it to them, but they don't listen. Bro, he showed up and was like, despite the fact that your father wasn't there, and despite the fact that
Mhm,
your mother had these issues, I'm gonna show up and be the father you didn't have. And so not only did he set you down, he placed in you the right reverence.
mhm,
So that even when you came out, you responded to him the same way a normal child would respond to their father. When they went out, when they stayed out too late and they got that whooping or they got that correction, and then they go out the next day and they homeboy like, man, forget that, let's stay out. And they like, boy, I ain't staying out. You know what's gonna happen if I stay out here?
oh yeah. And it's interesting you say that because my best friend and I, we used to talk about we'd be at the team parties we had in our community. Um, and so, his dad would say, hey, at this time I'm gonna be outside, you know, uh, and you need to be there when I'm gonna come inside and get you and embarrass you. And we talk a lot, at least a couple times a week. And I think about, I told him, I said, man, you have no idea how fortunate you are to have had your dad. Because everything he tells me his daddy taught him sounds almost exactly like what I would say to my child right now. Right now. And so I told him, I said, in many ways, I benefited from your father now and his father has passed on. But when he and I talk, I'm getting the lessons from his father through him that I can turn around and give my kids. That's the importance of fathers that I think we sometimes miss.
This has been good. This is a good one. It's a good one. Thank you, bro.
Man, pleasure's all mine, bro. I appreciate you this work. You know, and it's an ongoing process. You know, it's an ongoing process. But um, you know, the song that comes to mind for me is "I Know I've Been Changed." The
Mm.
angels in heaven have signed my name. Cause it's been times I tell some of them youngsters, "Oh, I know I've been changed." Cause what you just said to me a few years, 20, 30 years ago, yeah, okay. But I also recognize that haughty, intelligent, arrogant young misguided man. I'm like, I see you because I see me. And they'd be like, what? I'd be like, young brother, I see me. That's all. No disrespect at all.
Hmm. But you know what you needed.
Yep. And I tell them all the time, whenever you want to talk to me, I'm here. So like I say, I try to be who I needed back then.
Yeah, I used to tell my students all the time, you want to stay after class and catch these hands, be my guest.
Well, I saw those little social media videos. And I tell them, look here, man. I'm 6'1", 250, bald black guy in pretty decent shape. This ain't what you want.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
actually
tell
had a
them, I give you a hug because that's what you need.
when I first started teaching in DC. I had a few. I remember I had a student named Jarvell who told me. He said, "Man, I can't listen to no nigga who can't beat me." And I said, "I feel you. I respect that. Stay after class." And we had a mutual respect after that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I lay a hand on somebody else's kids. I ain't admitting that. But it was love. And
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, there is discipline in love.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, there's a level of it, but there's discipline and love. I think what I'm hearing from you tonight, and what I got from you tonight, is there's a few lessons that I got, and then I want to tap in with you. I want to get the lessons that I got, but then I want to tap in with you
Go.
because your story was very critical in understanding that. Is that your first a child's first example of God is their father.
Mm,
That's one thing I got. And I could open that up as well to just say that the child's first example of God is their parents,
mm,
right? And I would like to open it up because I want to give credit to the discipline and the check that the father offers, but the nurture that the mother offers. We need both parents in the home. So y'all, let's come on. Anybody listen? Come on, let's say it. We're gonna get married and have kids so that our children can receive the full spectrum of what God offers, both in rearing and discipline and in nurturing and education. Come on, y'all, say it with me.
ideally. Absolutely.
Ideally. And I think that's the way God designed it like that, right? Originally, that's how it was designed. What I also got from you tonight was that the unchecked intelligence of young black boys is what's killing young black boys.
Hmm.
I know as an educator in secondary education, when I used to teach, we used to do the studies, and there was a study that we ran into one time in a PD that talked about the confidence level of children.
Hmm.
And we were finding that as children, not as adults, but as children, the most confident children were black boys, and the least confident children were white males
Mm,
out of the spectrum. And in this spectrum, you also got black females, white females, the different races of both male and female. But the most confident in children was black boys, and the least confident was white males. And then the roles reversed as adults. The least confident was black boys. Uh,
right. And I say because a lot of times that confidence is broken systemically. Sometimes it starts at home. So some of the work that I do is working uh, with parents to help them effectively parent. You don't have to put your hands on a child to discipline them.
right.
The discipline comes from, because psychology teaches discipline without relationship equals rebellion.
I love that.
So yeah, I never had to put my hand on my son, and it's a good thing too because now he's like 6'3" and taller than me. I tell him, old man still got it, boy, don't get it twisted. But we've always had a mutual respect for one another, and I've never had to put my hands on him. I mean, I tapped him probably one time, but it was something like, a couple of times. One time he turned the heat up in the house, like we come in and felt like we were in Hades or something. Like, man, what the heck happened? And he had hit the heat. The other times he ran between some cars out into the street, and I snatched him and tapped him. But I talked to him about why I did that. Only two times. He was probably 3, 4, 5 years old then. Like I said, he'll be 22 in December. And I've never put my hand on him since then.
Hey, you know you just said a mouthful, right?
Probably.
Shout out, shout out to how you raise your kid. We over time, and this is good. We over time because we over time. Shout out to how you raise your kid, but you said a mouthful. You said that discipline without relationship, or is that correct?
Yeah, equals rebellion.
Equals rebellion.
Hmm.
You know you got caught because you made that prayer, right?
Hmm.
As soon as you said that to me, that's exactly what I heard. Because if that's true, right? If discipline without relationship equals rebellion, then if you didn't have a relationship with God already, then his disciplining of you would have caused you to rebel. You got caught because you prayed. Because the moment you prayed,
I opened up that relationship, the
you
seeking of a
opened it
relationship.
up and he said, got you. I'm gonna sit you down and I'm gonna change your life and I'm gonna make you into who you're supposed to be. I forgave you already, but I'm gonna
Mm.
correct.
Hmm. I have no doubt that what you said is absolutely true. That had I not got caught, I'd have did it again.
Of course you would have.
You know, I mean, I even have stuff now that I have to get better at. Like deadline on a grant or something like that. And if I can pull an all nighter and crank it out and get it done, guess what? More likely, I'm gonna probably do it again. But what happened is last time I got caught, didn't make that deadline. Now, I'm not gonna miss no more deadline. See, so that lesson
Mm.
will come back to you in different forms to see if you still understand, right? And that's the key. You passed it one time, but it can come back to you again in a different form.
So many jewels of tonight, including that one.
I said we're gonna have to do this one again.
Them coming back to you. Now we done. We done because now I got it. I know what tonight was about. We said it, right?
Mm,
You making that prayer opened up the relationship with God, and that's what allowed you to get caught. But you didn't get caught. The getting caught and going to jail wasn't the thing that broke you. You were already broken.
hmm.
Getting caught was the thing that fixed you. It's the thing
Process to
that settled
healing.
you. It made you listen, and then you could process and become who you are today. Here is the real question for all the brothers who may be going through a difficulty in life, who are experiencing a deepness and a darkness that is connected to past failures or people who have let them down, them operating in a space that may be afraid to open up the relationship with God. Bruh, you got caught and did 6 years.
Mm,
Would you make the prayer again?
absolutely.
Why?
Because I felt like, see, the thing about it is, those seeds are already there. All of that, grandmother taking you to church and all of that, that planted seeds, right? And what happened was you just didn't water them and nurture them and grow. When you get 12, 13, 15, those seeds had already been planted. That's why they say your early years of life are your formative years. That's where those seeds are planted. Then when you hit your teen and late teens, you're supposed to, the Bible says one plants, one waters, and God gives the increase. But here's the thing, if those seeds are planted, but you didn't water them, there can be no increase. See, and so that's what I say to anybody, right, that is in a similar situation is think about your innermost being and the things that were modeled for you and the things that you were taught. In that moment when I prayed, I said, I knew this was wrong. I knew this is not something my grandmother and my mother and them would approve of, right? Those seeds, you had those seeds. So in that moment, there has to be another way that your emotions, your fears, your traumas, whatever it is keeping you from seeing right now. So, whatever it is you think you want to do, just pause for a minute. Give yourself a little time. Think it through. Because more likely than not, and open yourself up for answers. Sometimes you just got to say, look, God, I don't have the answer. Can you help me? Can you reveal another path, another way? I'm sitting here telling you I don't want to do this. I don't want to go in there. I don't want to do that. So if I'm saying that, that means I need to get up and leave and wait to hear something different. Because if I don't, that sit down is most likely going to happen. Because I'm telling you, I know that this is not a threshold I should cross. I admit that to myself and to you. So if I'm saying that, then I need to back up, pause, because there's probably something else that I should be doing. There's another way that I'm not thinking of, but there's somebody else that's thinking of it. That's what I would say. Pause, back up. You're at a threshold you should not cross.
But you crossed it.
Yeah, I will say this: if you choose to cross it, I didn't think it through. You better think it through. That's all I'm saying.
You didn't think it through.
I just said that.
You
I
faced,
did not.
you faced the consequence of it. You
And,
came out. You went to school. You got
mhm.
your doctor degree.
But is everybody willing to go through what I went through? Because there's a whole lot of my story that I journaled for 3 years that I can't put into this hour. Y'all gonna have to buy the book.
I don't think you went through it on purpose.
Maybe not, but what I'm saying is, what I'm seeing is a lot of our society wants this microwave solutions and success, right? So what I'm saying is, don't think that I can cross this threshold and in a couple minutes I'm gonna be like, the Uber. You gonna dial something on your phone, and in a few minutes somebody gonna pull out in a white Toyota. That's what I'm saying. Is if you cross this threshold, if you hit that request, it might not be. It's definitely not going to be 15 minutes. More likely to be 15 years is what I'm saying. So if you go ahead and cross that, prepare yourself for the what they say on that movie Life, for the long ride. It ain't gonna be these microwave, these minute rice situations, brother. That's all I'm saying. But you can go ahead and cross it. I wouldn't advise it. Because what I'm saying is, I wish I would have found out another way. I don't regret where I'm at, but I would have rather found out another way. Because I'm still healing from that. In fact, I had a dream just last night, that I had was getting ready to go through some disciplinary stuff because, they have these boundaries you're not supposed to cross and all that kind of stuff. And I had crossed the boundary, not knowing, like, wait a minute, I what? No, I wasn't trying to. And in my dream, I'm inside. And I think it was in preparation, for this conversation, because I'm like, man, that's messed up. But again, I was reminded there's boundaries you don't cross.
This bro, this gonna sound so jacked up. But the reason why I'm smiling is because you saying, I wish I had have found another way. I'm still healing from that.
No, no, no. What I'm saying is, let me say it this way. Had I had my choice, but I also admit my way of thinking was jacked up. So
Keep going.
clearly, the way it was supposed to play out is the way it played out.
Keep
That's
going.
all I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, for people who are at that threshold at that moment, don't think that it's going to be that easy minute rice solution. Because I took lot of losses during that 6 years. But I also gained a lot. in terms of growth, maturity, and life path. But I had family members that you know I lost and passed away, and of course I can't go to the funeral and all that kind of stuff. Again, first 5 years of my daughter's life, I'm not there. That's not what I would have wanted. But I guess in order to have me there, period, that's what it took.
Bro, if you hadn't made that prayer, you would have been gone anyway.
More likely.
It would have been more jail time or death if you had not have made that prayer. So what I'm telling you right now, and what I'm hearing from you, and you with it, you on it, but we just saying it in two different ways. But the most pivotal point is that the moment you made the prayer,
Mm-hmm.
opened up you opened up a relationship with God. The moment you made a prayer, you asked God, you said what? You basically said, Lord, forgive me before I do it, because you know what I'm dealing with. Forgive me now.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, you praying to me? I got you. You going to jail was exactly what you needed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the post side, being a man 20, 30 years later with a PhD, who's
Mm-hmm.
had to heal from everything that happened in that process, who's had to sit down and figure out how to be the dad that his dad wasn't to him, who
Mm-hmm.
can stand here now and say the man that you are as a dad is still connected to what you saw your homeboy's father do. Bruh, you are in perfect position to help black boys who don't have fathers establish relationships with God, because you
Mm.
be their daddy, but you can remind them of the prayer that you made that got you to this point because you opened up a relationship with God.
Bro, you know what? You now you lace my tennis shoes right there. I got to write that down.
Because here's the thing, there's going to be somebody that's going to say, I don't want to make the prayer that you made because I don't want to get caught. But if they don't
Mm-hmm.
make the prayer, they don't become a PhD father. You see what I'm saying? They don't.
Mm-hmm.
You don't become you if you don't make the prayer that gets you caught.
Mm.
That's why you getting caught wasn't your breaking point.
Mm.
It was your redirection.
That's a good point.
You was broke already. That's why I was smiling at you the whole time, because I was like, oh, God did the flip flop on you.
Mm-hmm.
He literally played charades with you. You opened up the door and he was like, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Your purpose is to show brothers who don't have fathers how to establish a relationship with the ultimate creator, and to show them in your life the difference between what a relationship with God can do. Because many of them are facing football sentences or death.
Right.
And you are evidence. You are evidence of what a simple prayer can do.
I appreciate it, man. Like I said, you framed it in a way I hadn't even thought about it. But I funny because I talked to some young people about, I guess it's about a month and a half ago now, and I shared with them. I was like, I'm sitting outside the restaurant, getting ready to run in behind a garbage dump, and I prayed. And I was like, now, what does that tell you? That what you getting ready to do, you shouldn't do, and who you with, you shouldn't be with, like you say, unless you really ready to render yourself. As TDJ say, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready.
That's how he say it too. That's exactly as he slow walks across the stage with his back slightly leaning, head up. Get
That's
ready.
it. I started listening to him. I connected with him inside. Brothers like that. So, well, man, we are way over time, brother. I appreciate it. I don't know how you gonna edit all of this or do
I'm
what
not
this
gonna
you
edit
gotta.
this. Why would I edit this?
But I enjoyed it, man. Like I said, I learned stuff. So I don't know if we do questions or how you do that or
We're gonna end with the three P's.
okay.
What I've learned mostly about this is that I have my structure. right? So it's two verses I want to give right now. Jeremiah 29:11. We know that one, right? For I know the plans I have for you, said the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you hope and to give you future. That's 29:11. But if you go to 13, if you extend 11 to 13, it says, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and I will hear you. You will call and you will hear me when you seek me with all your heart,
Mm-hmm.
right? You called on him.
Mm-hmm.
You got your answer. The second scripture I want to give, because I'm gonna do this because it's my platform, right? Is the Quran that says, "Man plans, but God is the best planner."
There you go. I like that.
So I got a structure for the night. I always have a structure, but I couldn't have predicted this. I'm not editing this. I'm not about to allow my plans to overrule this. No. Let's get these three P's out the way, brother.
All right.
Whatever comes to your heart as quickly as you can receive it.
All
Um,
right.
when are you most peaceful?
One more time.
When do you feel most peaceful?
When if I feel most peaceful? Usually when I've done something to benefit, someone else. When I've done something to help somebody, whether it's a student, whether it's somebody in the community, whatever. That's usually when I'm most at peace because I feel like that is, I don't know, it's just something about it. It's just peaceful.
Thank you for that. When do you feel most purposeful?
When I feel most purposeful, um, when I can connect people with resources. Again, very similar. Whenever if I can help somebody, my living is not in vain.
Mm.
That's when I feel most purposeful.
When do you feel most powerful?
When I feel most powerful, probably when I'm praying. When I feel like I'm walking and my connection, it's kind of like a Wi-Fi signal. When my Wi-Fi connection to God is strong, that's when I feel most powerful. And when I know I'm like, when I get that affirmation that this is what I'm supposed to be doing and where I'm supposed to be going and how I'm supposed to be rolling and all of that, that's when I usually feel most powerful.
Tuned in, tapped in, dialed up. Brother Stevens, this has been another night of the Heal Me campaign for everybody who's watching on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching from on IG, man. Every night during the month of May, from Sunday to Thursday nights at 9 p.m., we do the Heal Me campaign where I'm talking to African American brothers about the challenges, the difficulties they face, and how they got through it. Our goal is to make sure that those brothers who might be in a difficult moment now can, one, know that they're not alone, can, two, see that they can make it through, and then three, they can employ some of the strategies that they hear in these conversations to get to a place of peace, power, and purpose. And I think what we received tonight is definitely a little bit of all three, right? Here's a brother who can tell you about the moment that he made a decision, and he can tell you about the strategy that he employed, and he can show you verbatim what it looks like to make it through. And the strategy to me for tonight, the overall thing for tonight is simply this: when God loves you, he puts you through the fire.
Mm,
But it is pressure and heat that turns coals to diamonds.
absolutely.
Brother
And
Steve, Brother
and
Steve,
and fire purifies gold.
right? It purifies the ore, it brings it out. Brother Stevens is a diamond, and he's a man of the old gold. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Holding up the shield, but he's a diamond, and he only got there because he trusted God to put him through the fire. This was good. It's 10:29, and Christy's still on, so I know it's good. We're gonna go ahead and tap out, brother. We're gonna go ahead and tap out. Bless you, man. I appreciate you for
All
showing
right,
up.
bro. Absolutely, man. It's my pleasure. Thank everyone for joining us. Thank you, brother, for this work that you do. Be blessed and be plentiful in all that you do, brother.
Thank you, man. Once again, y'all, I'm Yusha Assad, uh, recording artist, motivational speaker, master certified life coach. This is what we're doing for the month of May, man. The Heal Me campaign. Blessings.
All right, bro. Peace.
Peace.